Tonight, a home invasion gang terrorises a Hallett Cove family.
A sigh of relief from home buyers as interest rates are left unchanged.
Adelaide's dodgy restaurants, risky business for diners.
And a golden day in the pool, but an Aussie swimmer flies home with Delhi belly.
7 News with John Riddell and Jane Doyle.
Good evening. An Aboriginal gang's being hunted for bashing a Hallett Cove man and Good evening. An Aboriginal gang's being hunted for bashing a Hallett Cove man and terrorising his family. Police are investigating links with the so-called Gang of 49 and fear another crime rampage.
At 2 a.m, Luke Rowe was jolted awake by the sound of the gang smashing their way into his home and confronting his parents.
Where's your safe? Where's your keys? They asked that a few times. All I heard was loud banging noises. They hit my dad with a rock across the head.
With his father being repeatedly assaulted with a rock and crowbar, Luke thought of intervening.
It was just a big adrenaline rush. I just wanted to be a hero, I guess.
But believing there were up to 10 intruders, he locked himself in his room and called police. Meanwhile, the gang stole property and the keys to 2 cars before fleeing in them and 2 Skylines they arrived in. 7 News has been told that about an hour and a half before the home invasion, a police patrol noticed one of the Skylines being driven at high speed and without its lights on, heading towards Hallett Cove. But the patrol had a prisoner on board and couldn't stop. There were at least 2 other high-speed chases with the vehicle during the night, plus a robbery at the Holdfast Hotel. Police believe they've recovered one of the Skylines dumped at Morford Vale.
It's extremely worrying because not only are they basically attacking innocent people, but they're showing no regard for their safety and certainly for the safety of the public, nor for the safety of the police.
Luke's father suffered head injuries but is in a stable condition in hospital. Michelle Vella, 7 News.
Home buyers have been given some extra breathing space with the Reserve Bank leaving interest rates on hold, at least until Melbourne Cup Day. But the reprieve may be short-lived, with some experts tipping banks will soon go it alone.
Many economists were banking on a rise, but the RBA wasn't budging.
There is no change to official interest rates. That certainly flies against the widely held view.
Home buyers gasped a collective sigh of relief.
It's fantastic. I'm excited that they haven't gone up.
I feel very pleased. I was going to think about putting it on fixed, so now I don't have to worry about it.
The Bank Board announced a wait-and-see approach as new figures revealed small retailers are doing it tough. Local sales have shown little improvement and a rate rise in the run-up to Christmas could be costly.
I think we will be seeing further rate rises as we get into 2011, but I'd be fairly confident we won't be seeing any rate rises now until Christmas and the New Year.
But even if the RBA continues to hold fire, it's feared lenders will up their ante.
I think that the big banks will go up 0.1, 0.15, probably sooner than later.
Welfare groups are asking the banks to show mercy. They say any increase would compound recent hikes in household bills like power and electricity.
The banks should make a commitment to the community, and there are a lot of people struggling at the moment, and this is an opportunity for the banks to show good faith.
Now that's an interesting idea. Caroline Kelly, 7 News.
The community in the Parks area has had a win today with the Premier's announcement that the local community centre won't be closed or the land sold off. Reporter Mark Mooney has the details.
The government's plan to close the Parks Community Centre was widely condemned by those who use it and the Premier's most trusted advisor on social policy, Monsignor David Capo. Well, today Mike Rann hit Twitter, dismissing reports the centre has already been sold and promising that it won't be closed. That sounds clear enough, but staff here have told me their contracts haven't been extended beyond next March and it's not known how many of the facilities will remain open. Nevertheless, locals are saying this is a big win for the community.
It's a good centre, you know, it helps a lot of people out.
I would have been very unhappy if it had to close, so I'm really pleased to hear it's remaining open.
The Premier knows his move will be seen as a backflip, but he says he'd be criticised if he hadn't changed his mind. Back to you.
Thanks, Mark. Public sector unions say the state government's channeling John Howard with its planned changes to the law. Some strikes are already being organised with consideration given to a challenge in the courts.
10 unions who represent South Australia's public sector workers held a summit this morning to work out how they can stop state government legislation.
It's basically the same sort of mechanism that John Howard used when he legislated away the right to collectively bargain. We would never have expected a Labor Premier and a Labor Treasurer to have picked up the same tactics as the Liberal Party.
The plan is to limit long service leave for public servants who've worked more than 15 years and to raise the 17.5% leave loading at Christmas.
How can you bargain with people who don't have principles? If two organisations reach an agreement and sign off on it, you expect that to be held.
This afternoon, the government tried to prevent paramedics taking stop work action this Friday, but failed. They say they're massively under-resourced too.
Our members have got to the end of their tether and they're insisting the union do something about it, and we will.
The unions are hoping thousands will rally on the steps of Parliament on Friday, and they'll meet again on Monday to explore legal avenues.
This is going to be very difficult to actually deal with industrially or legally.
Tom Wilson, 7 News.
Authorities are playing secret squirrel over the identities of more than 50 Adelaide restaurants fined for breaching food safety standards. The worst offenders were infested with cockroaches and rats. One even kept a dog in the kitchen.
There's no way of knowing if the restaurant you're eating at has had problems with hygiene unless it's been prosecuted.
You're not allowed to know what dirty habits they've been engaging in.
Of more than 5,000 inspections in the past 12 months, 56 Adelaide eateries have been fined. Hundreds more have got away with warnings.
There was a serious issue of cockroach infestation, which wasn't being treated appropriately.
There were also problems with unclean equipment, undercooked chicken and the incorrect storage of food. But unlike New South Wales, only businesses convicted here are named and shamed.
There's a chance they'll try and be more secretive about what they do.
Currently there are 2 on the register, Scarfy's homemade cookies at Myponga and Tanpong hot meat roll at Woodville, which was prosecuted last month for selling contaminated meat. Inspectors had warned the owner to clean up his act twice before they discovered vacuum-packed chicken contaminated with listeria. They banned him from selling it, but on their next visit it was still on the shelves. Fortunately, no one reported becoming ill and the business has since closed down, but customers don't want to take their chances.
They do really need to be outed.
Andrea Nicholas, 7 News.
A group representing Adelaide's African communities meeting tonight to discuss ways of preventing further gang violence on the streets. Mike Smithson reports from South Terrace. Mike?
Jane, it's been described as an emergency executive meeting of the African group. Now, it's hard to get the precise agenda, but the problem of Sudanese youths carrying knives is certain to be discussed. It follows 2 nights of weekend violence in the city in which 4 people were injured. Local Sudanese youths were involved, as well as Africans from interstate here for a beauty pageant. Those entering this meeting weren't saying much.
I'm not sure. I was just called for a meeting.
Now, the opposition leader fears that current tensions could lead to wider problems.
And I think there is the potential for it to become an excuse for racism.
7 News understands the ongoing problems could be linked to an earlier fight involving a young Sudanese female. Back to you.
Thanks, Mike. Major Crash Police are investigating a fatal accident at Fulham. Just before 7 last night, a 74-year-old woman was knocked over and killed on Henley Beach Road near her home. Her death was the second on our roads over the long weekend.
Interstate police have joined the search for a man wanted over a carjacking and crime spree north of Adelaide. He was last seen forcing 2 people out of their car at a Gawler petrol station late yesterday afternoon. That car was found dumped in New South Wales today. Earlier, he'd rammed an unmarked police car and another car driven by an elderly woman whom he tried to carjack. The man had fled from an Evanston address after a woman was stabbed in a domestic dispute.
And an Ingle farmman's appeared in court over a violent carjacking in May. 20-year-old Sonny Sumner was arrested on Friday, 6 months after allegedly stealing 2 cars and torching one of them at Monarto. Police say DNA evidence links him to the crime spree, during which police were led on a high-speed chase on the southeastern freeway.
Controversial former AFL star Peter Spider Everetts sparked anger over comments about the Collingwood sex assault scandal. He claims he's been misunderstood, but his tweets are pretty clear.
Many of the Premiership players were at the airport today, heading for Bali to attend retiring teammate Shane O'Brien's wedding. they ignored questions about the assault claims.
I don't speak English.
And there was no comment either from other players on their arrival in Denpasar. Police also had nothing more to say on the issue today, and sources told 7 News any claims in this case would hinge on what is consensual sex. And on that subject, some gratuitous advice to women from former AFL player Peter Spider Everett on Twitter. He says yet another alleged girl making alleged allegations after she awoke with an alleged hangover and, I take it, an alleged guilty conscience. He goes on, girls, when will you learn? At 3 a.m, when you're blind drunk and decide to go home with a guy, it's not for a cup of Milo, allegedly.
When's the last guilty verdict been about, a football player sexually assaulting a female? Can you name it?
And a warning today not to prejudge the Collingwood players.
And in this instance, let's just keep an open mind and see where the police investigation goes.
Norm Beeman, 7 News.
The Chief of New South Wales Police has backed his officers following the second death in 24 hours involving police weapons. A man died in hospital overnight after being stunned with a taser at a home in Sydney's west. Police say he'd lunged at 2 constables with a knife in each hand. A man died yesterday after being sprayed with capsicum.
The Upton family of Aldinga Beach is in shock after learning their newborn son has weighed in as one of the country's heaviest babies. Not so little Xavier tipped the scales at 6 kilograms. The family moved here 3 months ago but returned to Victoria so Carmen could go to the same hospital where she's given birth to the couple's other 6 children. She's sure this will be their last visit.
Here's it. Rory took care of that at the start of the year in January.
Xavier's birth weight's equivalent to a 3-month-old's.
And the man who developed the IVF techniques received the highest honour for a scientist. British doctor Robert Edwards has been awarded the Nobel Prize. His work resulted in the world's first test tube baby, Louise Brown, born in 1978.
If he didn't help Mum back then, I wouldn't basically be here.
Dr Edwards is in poor health and couldn't attend the presentation.
The world's first ever sea life census has counted 250,000 species. 6,000 have never been seen before. They include a sea angel slug discovered in the Antarctic Ocean, a seahorse camouflaged to look like seaweed, and a fish with razor-sharp teeth. The census also found species thought to be extinct.
Julia Gillard's laughed off Tony Abbott's reason for not joining her surprise visit to Australian troops in Afghanistan. Mr Abbott says he wanted to avoid jet lag ahead of some meetings in the UK.
Arriving at the Royal Palace in Brussels for her first appearance on the world stage as Prime Minister.
Thank you very much.
Julia Gillard met dozens of international leaders and during her dinner speech served up some Aussie humour.
That with my broad Australian accent, even the English speakers in the room may want to access the translation.
But she had to settle for the UK's Deputy Leader Nick Clegg. British Prime Minister David Cameron stayed in England ahead of talks with Tony Abbott tomorrow. The opposition leader could have visited Afghanistan as well, but rejected Ms Gillard's invitation, worried about getting too tired.
Well, I thought it was important to do this trip justice, and I didn't want to get here in an entirely jet-lagged condition.
Well, I'll let Mr Abbott work out his own sleeping patterns.
Julia Gillard's highest honour came during the working dinner, where she was asked to give one of 2 keynote speeches. With so many European economies still struggling, leaders were keen to find out just how Australia survived the global financial crisis. In Brussels, Alex Hart, 7 News.
Commonwealth Games swimmer Robert Hurley's heading home to Australia with a bad case of Delhi belly. The favourite for gold in the 1500 metres, he'd only eaten in the athletes' village. His departure has stunned the team, which was celebrating a golden day in the pool.
In the Delhi pool, it was time for Australian swimming's new stars to take the spotlight.
Look at Kylie Palmer increase her stroke rate.
The 20-year-old dominated the 200 freestyle for Australia's first gold medal at the Commonwealth Games.
I'm sort of speechless. I've got nothing to say. It's my first individual international medal.
And the first of many times we'll hear our anthem in Delhi. Emily Seebohm's plans of winning 8 golds at the Games ended after one final, upstaged by teammate Alicia Coots in the 200 individual medley. 1-2 for Australia, gold for Coots in her Commonwealth debut.
And I just told myself, you know, if I do a PB, I'm really happy, and I was not expecting to win.
After the brilliant start by our girls, it was over to the men in the 100 freestyle relay. But before they could start, officials had to remove debris from the pool.
Hopefully it's not something from the roof.
I'm not sure where else it would have come from. They beat arch rivals England.
Australia wins gold! It's a good positive thing to start with, and hopefully we can carry that on for the rest of the meet.
In Delhi, Matt Carmichael, 7 News.
An Adelaide woman survived a challenging wilderness ordeal in the United States armed with only a pocket knife. She's hoping her 10-day adventure will lead to her own reality TV series.
As a professional Hollywood stuntwoman, Kai Fano takes chances every day. But this was something different, setting off into California's wilderness without water, food or a tent, armed only with a pocket knife. Together with wilderness expert Thomas Coyne, they set off on their 160-kilometre adventure. They lived off the land, eating native berries and even acorns. It was tough going as they climbed peaks bigger than Australia's tallest mountain, lighting fires the old-fashioned way and using them to survive in sub-zero temperatures. The biggest danger came when Kai and Thomas came face to face with 4 giant black bears in the middle of the night.
These huge bears just running through the wilderness around us.
10 days later, noticeably skinnier, they walked into the Mojave Desert. They finally tasted a real meal, but Kai had something else in mind.
Shower.
In California, Mike Amor, 7 News.
Time for sport now with Bruce. And how's day 1 of Trade Week gone, Bruce?
A lot easier than 10 days in the desert, Jane, but good and bad news for the Crows. As we know with Trade Week, a lot of talk, not much action just yet. Also after the break, why one of Central's Grand Finals heroes is in trouble. More gold for Australia at the Commonwealth Games, and the first test in Mohali goes down to the wire.
Oh man, that is hot.
KFC's new Fiery Burger, 100% breast fillet chicken marinated in a special fiery recipe, then grilled and topped with fresh ingredients and KFC's fiery sauce. KFC's new fiery range.
Need new tyres for your Commodore or Falcon? Get into Bow Repairs for tyres from $79 and premium Dunlops from $125, plus no deposit and no interest till 2012. Bow Repairs, who you turn to for tyres. Call 13 23 81.
BP Solar have been supplying solar power in Australia for over 30 years. Each system is designed to feed the maximum amount of electricity back into the grid to save you money and offset your family's carbon footprint. Your local BP Solar certified installer will explain the rebates and feed-in tariffs that are available to you and design the right solar power system specifically for your home. And for peace of mind, you'll have the industry's leading warranties and a local expert you can count on. Call a certified installer today and put the sun's energy to work for you.
When you need the best, forget the rest. Gotta get your shed from Rand. Buy a quality Rand-built shed before October 31st for the value of $9,900 including GST or more. And we'll throw in a ripper 900 series beef eater barbie.
That's my man.
Something here from Sports Scene. Cricket, tennis, baseball, softball. Sports Scene. Bats, pads, brackets, balls. Sports Scene. Gloves, bags, helmets, footwear and clothing. Sports Scene, Mount Gambier. Sports Scene. More than just good sports.
At Retrovision, you save every day with our buying power of over 300 stores Australia-wide. Our friendly staff will give you expert advice on top-brand home entertainment, kitchen, laundry, air conditioning, and all the latest technology. And get it today with flexible interest-free options. You can even pre-approve online. So for quality service and expert advice, see the team at your locally owned Retrovision.
Big, bold, functional and fertile. Saracen White Suffolks invite you to their 11th annual sale, Friday, October 15th. Inspection from 11 with the auction at 1:30. 130 quality White Suffolk rams, Saracen White Suffolk stud sale on property, Avenue Range via Lucendale.
Emergencies can and will happen. You can rely on the State Emergency Service to provide assistance to the community. Run by volunteers, the SES plays an active part in developing individuals into trained professionals, qualified to handle the emergencies that arise, providing assistance and giving reassurance to victims and their families. Why not join the SES? Training is provided and is a great avenue for friendship and self-fulfillment. For SES assistance, phone 132 500 or the recruitment hotline 1300 364 587.
Hey, check out Tarzan.
Yeah, apparently his backyard's a jungle after winter. So for spring, he's getting a litre of Roundup concentrate for $23.
That'll keep Jane happy.
Get into your local home timber and hardware.
The proper hardware store.
We may have a problem. He's going to tell them about the event.
Welcome back, and the Crows are closing in on a deal for Richmond's Richard Tambling. But Carlton is playing hardball on ruckman Sam Jacobs after day one of the AFL's trade week.
All the AFL clubs gathered in Melbourne this morning to see what was on the table, but like most years, not much got done on day one.
Mate, we've done nothing.
The Crows had a long discussion with Richmond about Richard Tambling, but couldn't seal the deal. One of their other targets, Carlton's Andrew Walker, looks like joining the Bulldogs, who also want Brisbane's Justin Sherman and Sydney's Patrick Vez-Premi. Carlton's playing hardball with Adelaide over ruckman Sam Jacobs.
It's fair to say that we're fair ways apart, but, you know, hopefully it's day one, and so over the next few days we might get a bit closer.
Fremantle's happy to ship Chris Tarrant back to his old club Collingwood. 2 deals were done early. The Bulldogs used their first 2 draft picks to get Tom Liberatore and Mitch Wallace under the father-son rule. Mark Soderstrom, 7 News.
Jack Odie medalist Ian Cullinan will front the SANFL tribunal after being cited for this bump on Simon Phillips during the grand final. Phillips sat out the match with a broken jaw. Cullinan joined premiership teammates at the Brewery this morning, including new Colt hero Jason Sutherland, who's played just 8 games.
I remember my first league game against North Adelaide. 8-9 minutes in the first quarter, I've run on, and then they just started to pump each on, and I've looked into the grandstand. There's my old girl. She's having a bit of a cry with Chris Grant. So yeah, it's just so surreal. I'm lost for words at the moment, and that's not usual for me.
Cricket and the first test in Mohali is going right down to the wire. Australia needs 2 wickets to win, but VVS Laxman and Ishant Sharma have guided India to within reach of victory.
Australia's batsmen self-destructed on day 4, going from none for 87 to all out for 192. But Ben Hilfenhaus dragged Australia back into the game with 3 wickets in the final session.
He's gone now.
India resumed the final day on 4 for 55 with Sachin Tendulkar the key. He started brightly but soon lost night watchman Zahir Khan. That brought VVS Laxman to the crease, and he and Tendulkar looked like seeing India home until Bollinger struck.
It's a big blow for India.
His captain MS Dhoni soon followed after a mix-up with Laxman's runner.
Dhoni has just gotten run out.
Bollinger then softened up Harbhajan Singh, and the home side was reeling at 8 for 124. But with Laxman there, India was still a big chance, and he and Sharma edged India towards victory.
Oh, it's in the air, but excruciatingly close.
Paul Kermode, 7 News.
Marcos Flores will miss Adelaide United's next match and up to 6 weeks with a hamstring injury. The Reds are waiting on the results of scans to know how bad it is. He watched on as Adelaide pinched an unlikely win in Sydney.
Ramsey can steal it for Adelaide, and Ian Ramsey scores against his former club.
We won, but we were not so good as Sydney. Sydney were much better than we were yesterday, so I feel sorry for them.
Van Dijk copped a cork thigh but should be fine to play Gold Coast on Sunday week. Australia's gymnasts have created history in Delhi, winning a first Commonwealth gold medal. The Australian men's team narrowly edged out England.
The drought is over. Australia are the champions. They have done it.
Monkeys off our back, so we've paved the way for future generations to keep on winning.
Unfortunately, the 14,000-seat venue was almost empty. It's just one of the events struggling to attract a crowd. Europe has sealed golf's Ryder Cup in dramatic style. Tiger Woods dragged the US team back into contention with his biggest ever win of the competition, and the result hinged on the final singles match between Graham McDowell and Hunter Mahan. McDowell held his nerve, sparking wild European celebrations. And drivers are getting ready for the first Bathurst under new rules, which will split up long-standing pairs like Craig Lowndes and Jamie Whincup. Jane, that's our sport. Australia's taken another wicket. India needs 11 runs. Got to head off and see what happens.
Ooh,
Very
sounds
close.
tight. Good on you, Bruce. Thanks. Now with what's on today tonight, here's Rosanna.
Thank you, Jane. Coming up tonight, the solar energy stampede. Experts on what to get and what to avoid so you can slash your power bills forever.
I'll be saving at least $1,600 a year just on my power bill.
Plus more on Tom the Miracle Man, how his homemade remedies giving hope to sufferers, beating everything from arthritis to eczema. That's soon.
Thanks, Rosanna. Well, it's been one of those perfect spring days. Next, Mel will tell us if there are more on the way.
And some enterprising kids on how to stay busy during the school holidays.
The Vital Pets Meals range provides nutritious, healthy food for your pet. 3 kilo rolls of meat and pasta or beef and vegetables, Vital chicken and cheese, Vital calorie control and Vital seafood roll. Vital Pets Meals are in the refrigerated section of your supermarket.
Domino's Super Tuesday is here! Go $5.90 pizza, go $5.90 pasta. Tuesday now is here. Domino's Super Tuesday. Domino's!
Domino's, it's all good.
Are you ready for digital TV? If you're experiencing digital breakup on a good digital ready TV, there may be a problem with your antenna system. First, check that you have a good quality UHF antenna and that the cable and connections are in good condition and plugged in. Old VHF antennas can cause problems with UHF services and are best removed. If you're unsure how to check your antenna system or how to install a new digital antenna, contact a local authorised installer. Find more at the Digital Ready website.
Right now at Kenmart Pharmacies, we're having a 20% off bag sale. You'll get 20% off everything you can fit into one of these bags. When it comes to saving you money, we know what we're talking about.
Some can't wait for a Corolla hatch. Sporty on the outside and smart on the inside with a Bluetooth-compatible audio system, vehicle stability and traction control all standard. No wonder Corolla is still the world's most popular small car.
Foodland is celebrating its birthday, and you could win one of the last 2 keys in the Foodland Charity Holiday Home competition. You could also win your share in $28,000 worth of Foodland vouchers. Time is running out. You must have your entry in by the end of this month. So simply buy 2 nominated products, send in your entry form, and you could win. Listen to Mix 102.3 for more birthday giveaways, and remember, there are thousands of specials in store.
The mighty South Aussies, yeah!
Want to beat the heat this summer? Call your diamond dealer. Our team are trained to help you choose from ducted air conditioning to the latest energy-efficient split inverter systems. Call your diamond dealer. Mitsubishi Electric Diamond Dealers, your air conditioning specialists.
The classic Big Mac. Special sauce, onion, lettuce, cheese, beef bun. Special sauce, onion, lettuce, pickles, beef bun. There's something special about a classic, whether it be the classic gag, the classic move, the classic good deed, the classic trick, the classic wingman, or that classic sauce. Big Mac. Here's to the classics.
Mates? Yeah, I've got a few. Lost a few over the years too. There's one friend though. You know that guy you can always rely on. He doesn't judge me or ask for anything in return. He's a real mate. Sure, he's a bit rough around the edges, but when it comes down to it, I love him. I love him for just being him.
To Money Matters, and after a bad start, the stock market recovered much of its losses. The big 4 banks were all lower, so too the major miners. On currency markets, the decision on interest rates hit the dollar, and the average price for unleaded has dipped below $1.20.
Tomorrow's speed cameras are going to be around both the east and western suburbs. Watch out on Green Hill Road, Burnside, and Port Road at Cheltenham.
Now, Mel, another beautiful day today, but a few showers on the way.
Yes, John, there's not much in it, but it could get rather windy. Good evening. It was another glorious day here in Adelaide today. About an hour ago, the mercury climbed to 21 degrees after an overnight low of just 9 degrees. Currently in the city, it's still 20 degrees. More thundery showers across the north over the past 24 hours, but once again, falls were less than 1 millimetre. Now, we can see that massive cloud lingering across the north. That could bring more thundery showers in that region over the next couple of days, but further south, a cold front is moving into South Australia, and that will produce a few showers here in Adelaide tomorrow, and winds will strengthen and turn southwesterly. Interstate tomorrow, another wet day right across the eastern seaboard and some rain in the Alice. Back home, more thunderstorms across the north with some patchy fog across agricultural areas tomorrow morning. Isolated showers will extend across most of South Australia with possible hail in the lower southeast, and winds will freshen ahead of a strong southwesterly change. So a strong wind warning has been issued for all coastal waters. And a bumpy day out on local waters with southwesterly winds to 30 knots and seas to 2.5 metres. Becoming cloudy tomorrow with a shower or two developing late in the morning or early afternoon, and those winds will strengthen late morning. Now, we're heading for an early top of 20 degrees, but the temperature will drop into the mid-teens following that change in the afternoon. But it should start to fine up on Thursday, just a fraction warmer on Friday, nice and sunny over the weekend, up to 27 degrees on Monday, and much cooler with just a possible shower around on Tuesday. So pack a jacket if you are heading out tomorrow afternoon. It will cool down rather quickly, and we might just get 1 or 2 millimetres of rain, probably just enough to mess up that car that you washed over the weekend. That's all from me tonight. Back to you, Jane.
That's why I didn't wash it. Thanks, Mel. North Park Shopping Centre was overrun by kids today to help show off community activities available to locals. So far, the centre's mall has played host to dance and play groups, face painting and an animal nursery. The school holiday fun is set to continue tomorrow between 10 and 2. Good stuff.
Yeah, and mums, just a few days to go.
Indeed.
Hang in there.
Next week they're back to school. Here's Rosanna.